Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Recently someone asked me why did I come to Japan and why have I stayed here for over 10 years? Woo! Honestly, the answer is both simple and complicated. It actually reminds me of a reality TV show I used to watch when I was an international student here. Why did you come to Japan? You wa nani shi ni Nippon e? The show would randomly interview foreigners at airports, on the streets, or at tourist spots, and asking about the reasons for coming to this country and the stories behind them. Today I want to share my own journey and why I came to Japan. Well, to be honest, Japanese wasn't even my first foreign language, and my college major had nothing to do with Japan either. Well, in 2012, I came to Japan as an international student. At that time, China had just surpassed Japan to become the world's second largest economy. So for me, Japan wasn't the only option, or was it an absolute must-go destination? But growing up, I loved the Japanese anime and movies and TV dramas, and the familiarity of the kanji characters in the language made me feel a natural sense of closeness to Japan. I started by self-studying a little bit of Japanese back home and thinking maybe I can improve my Japanese language skills while earning a master's degree here. Well, there wasn't really any deep or special reason behind it. It just kind of happened, but before I knew it, I already lived here for about a decade. Well, over these years, I transitioned myself from an international student to a working professional out here. And along the journey, my mindset about living in Japan also changed a lot. And when I first arrived, I thought if I live here long enough, I will eventually become like a Japanese person. While in terms of language and culture and work habits, I believe I would eventually blend it in. But later I realized, even after living here for around 10 or 20 years, it's unlikely for the language to even feel truly native. And no matter how much you adapt, there is always an invisible but real gap between you and the Japanese society. Well, interestingly, the Chinese community in Japan has grown a lot too. When I first came in late 2012, and there were about 650,000 Chinese people living here. But by the end of last year, in 2024, the number has risen to 870,000. In just 12 years, that's really a huge change. So I currently live in southern part of Saitama Prefecture, and which is close to Tokyo's Kita district. And places like Kawaguchi, Nishikawaguchi, and also Warabi become home to many Chinese residents. And when I first moved here, I didn't know too much about it, honestly, but gradually I started noticing Chinese grocery stores and restaurants and breakfast shops and even Chinese-speaking hair salons, hospitals, and also schools popping up around me. And there are also WeChat groups and the Xiaohongshu or Red Note groups, and where people share food, tips, and second-hand goods, and also job openings. The community has become so vibrant that even while living in Japan, I'm surrounded by a complete Chinese ecosystem. Well, as a Chinese, when it comes to food, nothing beat Chinese cuisine. And when getting a haircut, it's easier to communicate with Chinese barber. And if I need to split a Costco purchase, I just drop a message in the WeChat and someone always responds. So someone might ask, if you like China so much, why stay in Japan? Well, the truth is for many Chinese people, and myself included, it's not necessarily about a deep love for Japan. Well, it's simply that Japan, relatively speaking, is a pretty good choice. While it's a safe country and with reasonable living costs and offer good education and healthcare, I think it's a very practical attitude. In the past, and some people might have moved here out of admiration of Japanese culture, but nowadays, most people make realistic decisions comparing factors like safety and cost of living, education, and healthcare. And in many ways, Japan strikes a balance that's hard to find elsewhere. And after coming to Japan, I also thought about moving to an English-speaking country, but after talking with friends overseas, I realized that migration to Western countries has gotten harder and harder, and it's tougher to get in and tougher to stay, and the rules keep tightening. Well, Japan, on the other hand, still has its barriers, but compared to other countries, it's relatively more accessible. And for many of us, and choosing Japan was a rational decision within the limited options we had. And Chinese people living in Japan aren't necessarily pro-Japan, and maybe we're just realistic. We don't blindly embrace everything, but we don't deliberately reject it either. What we truly care about is whether we can build a better or more comfortable life for ourselves. So over time, many of us have developed a very unique identity. Not traditional Chinese, not Japanese either, but something in between. Chinese living in Japan. Well, I feel that too. It's not about forcing ourselves to fit in or distancing ourselves on purpose. It's just naturally building our own space, culture, and a sense of belongings out here. And honestly, I think that's a sign of maturity. Well, it helps us live more peacefully with less anxiety and loneliness in a foreign country. Japanese society too is, it's slowly get used to this blurry but real presence. So, as foreign residents, we hope that through our efforts we can be more accepted. And I truly believe that foreigners, as part of Japan's aging and shrinking population solutions, will contribute to Japan's future in many meaningful ways. Okay, that's all for today's sharing, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you next one. Bye.